I'd like to go ahead and welcome all of you to this MahaSamadhi virtual meet, the 23rd MahaSamadhi of Guruji, which we all are so fortunate to be celebrating all together in one sense, because it's so difficult to, even if it was a normal year, I don't know how realistic it would be for all of us individuals who are gathered right now to physically be in the same place even. So I guess this is one of the small positives of the pandemic situation that we're all going through, that we can still gather with so many people, no matter where they're living, in the comforts of our own home. And it's a great convenience. So I'd like to begin with starting off with some prayers. I'll lead them, and if you guys can just repeat after me, that would be great. So we'll start with the prayers and salutations to the Guru. We'll start with Om 3 times. Om. Om. Om Gurur Brahma.
Om Guru Brahma.
Gurur Vishnu.
Guru Vishnu.
Gurur Devo.
Guru Devo.
Maheshwaraha.
Maheshwaraha.
Gurur Sakshat Parabrahma.
Guru Sakshat Parabrahma.
Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha.
Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha.
Om Gum Gurubhyo Namaha.
Om Gurubhyo Namaha.
Now we pray to Lord Ganesha, who's the remover of all obstacles and impediments, and we need his grace now more than ever. Om Vakratunda Mahakaya.
Om Vakratunda Mahakaya.
Koti Surya Samaprabha.
Koti Surya Samaprabha.
Nirvignam Kuru Me Deva.
Nirvignam Kuru Me Deva.
Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada.
Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada.
Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha.
Om Ganapataye Namaha.
Our salutations to the one and only Goddess Gayatri, who gives us the spiritual wisdom and opens our hearts to understanding the spiritual nature, the true nature of who we are, through the knowledge of the Vedas. Om Bhur Bhuvaswaha.
Om Bhuvaswaha.
Om Tatsavitur Varenyam.
Om Tatsavitur Varenyam.
Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi.
Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi.
Dhiyo Yonaha Prachodayat.
Dhiyo Yonaha Prachodayat.
Next, we will salute or offer our prayers to the Mother Goddess in all her forms, the loving, compassionate, as well as the fierce. Om Sarva Mangala Mangalye.
Om Sarva Mangala Mangalye.
Shive Sarvartha Sadhike.
Shive Sarvartha Sadhike.
Sharanye Trayambake Gauri.
Sharanye Trayambake Gauri.
Narayani Namostute.
Narayani Namostute.
Om Dum Durgaye Namaha.
Om Dum Durgaye Namaha.
Om Aim Saraswatye Swaha.
Om
Aim Saraswati Swaha.
Om Shri Mahalakshmiye Namaha.
Om Shri Mahalakshmi Namaha.
Next, we offer our prayers to Lord Shiva, who is the initiator of all destruction, and in this case, the destruction of all evil around us and within us. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe.
Om Trayambakam Yajamahe.
Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam.
Sugandhim
Pushtivardhanam.
Urvarukamiva Bandhanan.
Urvarukamiva Bandhanan.
Mrityormokshiyamamritat.
Mrityormokshiyamamritat.
Om Namah Shivaya Gurave.
Om Namah Shivaya Gurave.
Satchidananda Murtaye.
Satchidananda Murtaye.
Nishprapanchaya Shantaya.
Nishprapanchaya Shantaya.
Niralambaya Tejase.
Niralambaya Tejase.
Om Namah Shivaya.
Om Namah Shivaya.
Next, we offer salutations and prayers to the God who showed us the idealism of humanity, of mankind, Lord Rama. Om Apadam Apahartaram.
Om Apadam Apahartaram.
Dataram Sarvasampadam.
Dataram Sarvasampadam.
Lokabhiramam Shri Ramam.
Lokabhiramam Shri Ramam.
Bhuyo Bhuyo Namamyaham.
Bhuyo Bhuyo Namamyaham.
Shri Rama Jai Rama Jai Jai Rama.
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 Next, we offer salutations to the complete manifestation of Godhead, which is Lord Krishna, who gave us the blissful love and bhakti and the gift of the Bhagavad Gita, the great wisdom and knowledge. Lord Sri Krishna. Om Vasudeva Sutam Devam.
Om Vasudeva Sutam
Devam.
Kamsa Chanuramardanam.
Kamsa Chanuramardanam.
Devaki Paramanandam.
Devaki Paramanandam.
Shri Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum.
Shri Krishnam Vande Jagadguru.
Om Klim Krishnaya Namaha.
Om Klim Krishnaya Namaha.
Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare.
Om Namo Narayanaya.
Om Namo Narayanaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Pandurangaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Pandurangaya.
Om Shakti Om.
Om
Om
Shakti
Shakti
Jnana Shakti Om,
Jnana
Shakti
Shakti Om
Ichha Shakti Om,
Ichha
Shakti
Shakti Om
Kriya Shakti Om,
Kriya
Shakti
Shakti Om
Yoga Shakti Om,
Yoga
Yoga
Shakti
Shakti Om
Mantra Shakti Om,
Mantra
Mantra
Shakti
Shakti
Om
Guru Shakti Om,
Guru
Guru
Shakti
Shakti Om
Brahma Shakti Om,
Brahma
Brahma
Shakti
Shakti Om
Vishnu Shakti Om,
Vishnu
Vishnu
Shakti
Shakti Om
Rudra Shakti Om,
Rudra
Rudra
Shakti
Shakti
Om
Shiva Shakti Om,
Shiva
Shiva Shakti
Shakti Om
Gayatri Shakti Om,
Gayatri
Gayatri
Shakti
Shakti Om
Savitri Shakti Om,
Savitri
Savitri
Shakti
Shakti Om
Shakti Om, Shakti
Shakti
Om, Shakti
Shakti
Om,
Shakti
Shakti Om, Shakti
Shakti
Om, Shakti
Shakti
Om, Shakti
Shakti
Om, Shakti Om, Shakti Om,
Shakti
Om, Shakti Om.
Om Shakti Om
Sadguru Maharaj ki.
Jai.
Jai.
I can't tell you guys, I can't express how blessed and blissful and overjoyed I'm feeling. Firstly, to be hosting something like this in memory of somebody who was the guiding light for all of us at various points in our life and still continues to be in spirit. But, 23 years it's been since he's physically left us, but I don't think it feels that long. And it shouldn't, as long as we have the faith. But, to be in your company, all of you, each and every one of you, taking the time to join me for this, it's really, really wonderful. And it's a privilege for me to be a part of this and to have all of you come together, because this is really for all of you to remember your guru and bring out some of those memories and those moments and those times and share it with all of us. For me personally, I have the good fortune of being in his family, but I did not get the good fortune of being being with him and understanding him properly during my younger years. But that's why I kind of can sort of tap into all of your knowledge and whatever experiences you all have had, and that will enrich me personally, and I know it will make everybody feel good who is part of this forum right now. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce each one of you, and and I would like each one of you, once I introduce you, to just say a few words to begin. Whatever you want to say, you can keep it short if you want, but we have Nagendra, who is one of Guruji's oldest disciples, who has served him in an incredible manner. We can't even fathom it. And he started in India from a very young age, and of course came to the West as well, and is settled, in the West as well. So Nagendra, welcome to this virtual meet, and please say a few words to.
Thank you. Thank you. I was blessed by Guruji when I was in the college in 1959, close to our home, Malleshwar Ram Mandir. He used to come from Udupi, and in the summer holidays, like 1 month or so, he would conduct Ramayana or Mahabharata or one of the great epics. So I got inspired, and then from there on, I completely dedicated myself. And as the session goes on, I will let you know the remaining things that went well. So thank you for joining. I'm so much thankful to you all for joining in this great meeting. And then I'm very happy to be a part of this one. Thank you.
Thank you. We have Ravi Das and Karuna from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I guess we'll go with ladies first. Karuna, if you'd like to say something for us.
Well, this is such a unique gathering. It's a very blessed way to remember Guruji. You know, I remember getting the phone call from your father, Pratyaksh, that Guruji had passed away, and it was just unbelievable. I can't believe it's 23 years either. But I look forward to all reminiscing about with all of you. And let's not forget Jayama
Yes.
She's there.
is here too, but she
Yeah.
doesn't have her camera on. I see at the bottom maybe, or maybe that's Nagendra twice. But I
Oh,
would
there
like to
she
see
is.
our dear Jayama. There she is. They have the
Jayama.
longest experience knowing Guruji and Padma. So we're just children compared to the experiences that they have with Guruji.
Ravi, please, something.
Yeah, one experience I would like to share is whenever we were with Guruji for weeks or months or traveling with him or whatever, and you're only around Mandali, okay, it changes your consciousness. You know, hearing all the Mandali in India chanting Guruji's bhajans, and only people coming to satsang, only people coming that are seeking spiritual enlightenment. So you're in that atmosphere, you're in that that bubble, okay, of enlightenment.
Yeah.
And I feel that tonight. So I just wanted to share that.
Thank you. Thank you. That's what we were hoping for. So Dayaram and Padma, please say something. How you feel about being part of this.
Well, first, I want to thank you very much for putting it together. The virtual satsang is so powerful. I've been able to join in a few others, and every time it does, you know, it's like what Christ said, but it's said about Christ, where two or more shall meet, I'll be there. And as Ravi said, I feel Guruji's with us today. So, you have very comprehensive questions, so I'll probably save my words until later, but my wife is a little bit shy. The only thing is I have to keep in mind that she met him when she was 1.5 years old. So she's too shy to talk about that.
So that's what, you know, I was a year and a half when my mother met Guruji. I think so. My mother met Guruji. My third brother, he just was walking by in the Rama Mandir. The Harikatha was going on.
Yes.
And he said, I think so, you will like this. Go see Guruji there. Now go see here to this Harikatha. That's all.
Yes, yes.
And from there it started.
No looking back from there.
How beautiful.
Wonderful. Satyabhama, you can hear us and see. Namaste.
Namaste.
Thank you for joining us. She's joining us from New Mexico. Most of you may already know that she's Namadeva's wife. And I'm saying that because he's still with us in spirit. He's still here. I'm sure he's attending from wherever he is, but we miss him. But of course, you're here to represent both of you. So thank you so much for being part of this and your participation. If you
Thanks for including me.
If you can just say a few words just about the how you feel about being part of this.
I'm very happy to meet virtually with you and everybody else. Some people I know, some people I don't, but we're all brothers and sisters in Guruji's and Mother's mission.
Yes.
Hari Charan Das, please say a few words to the group.
I'm just happy to be here, but my disposition is always to listen more than I speak. But you know, I'm a lifelong disciple of Guruji, and I'm happy to be here.
Thank you. We can go ahead and begin. So I call the first chapter The Calling, and it's realistically, it is what it sounds like. What was it that influenced you or got you started? What was the starting point for you to begin this spiritual journey on the path of spiritual seeking? Satyabhama, I'd like to ask you first.
Okay, I was 3 when my dad first took me to church, and I fell in love with the stained glass windows and the singing. And my parents were not religious, so I didn't get to go to church very often until I got older and could take myself. But I was an active Episcopalian until I was 18, sang in the choir and that sort of thing. But when I got to be 18, I started to ask the questions that one asks, especially the one thing that really irked me was the teaching that God is a loving God and he protects you at all times. So I asked the obvious question, what about wars? What about illnesses? And I got an answer that was gibberish. And I looked in his eyes, this young priest that I knew well, and I could see that he didn't believe what he was saying. And I just took a walk, a very long walk. I came back to seeking when I hit my first Saturn return. So, people get married if they're not at that point, or they get divorced. So I got divorced. And over a period of years, then I started reading widely esoteric and Eastern and whatever. And nothing was satisfying me until I met Guruji. It was the first Sunday of December 1980. So I heard him do a talk, and I used to be able to hear what I call clinkers, which is the priest in all of his sincerity is preaching, and I'm hearing that it's false, that it's, I just get uncomfortable, it's untrue. And I understand that he believes it, but it's not. So obviously I got restless. And with Guruji, he didn't do a regular program. I mean, I didn't even know he had regular programs, but he did a talk for an hour and a half on really Sanatana Dharma and all the philosophy. And I heard that it was all pure truth.
It's a good place to freeze.
Truth.
Well put, Dayaram.
Well, while we wait for her to come back, I think we kind of got the gist of what she had to say. Dayaram, if you could like to give your response to this.
Yeah, I don't want to, I want to be as succinct as possible because it blends into a lot of different questions. But
Right.
I went on a spirit quest too, and it was pain. Pain took me to this path. And I also was Episcopalian and grew up in a tradition. And so much of what she said resonated with me in terms of I heard what they were saying, but I saw their actions. It did not reconcile. And so I also, second Saturn return, about 28 years old, went on a spirit quest, read over 5,000 pages, and the autobiography of a yogi in particular brought a framework of philosophy that felt most consistent, talking to my heart. And so that's what made me on this path compared to other paths. My father had traveled in World War II to India in World War II, and so I had some exposure to Eastern philosophy and to some degree India as a child, and he had changed to Buddhism in my teenage years. So this was all sort of blending, but that's how I found my way to Sanatana Dharma. And then later on, I'll talk about meeting Guruji and so forth.
Sure, yes. Haricharan Das, please tell us, how did this journey begin for you?
I started yoga when I was a boy. I had the very good fortune to be around yogis.
Mhm.
So basically, most of my life, either I've been studying and participating in satsangs and seeing the various saints that have come through the U.S. So I've been in many satsangs, of which Guruji's satsang was the most wonderfully shocking satsang. I was hooked immediately. I remember I was standing in the back of the room, and like I said, I've been to satsangs all my life, but his satsang was beyond brilliant, beyond spiritual genius. And I remember standing in the back of the room and thinking to myself, this is what the Gita declares is a saint. And that was it for me.
Beautiful.
Wonderful. Ravi Karuna? Sure.
Well, there's absolutely no explanation for how I came to the spiritual path and Sanatana Vishwa Dharma. I was raised by a very strict Catholic mother, and I really didn't get anything out of that upbringing. But there's no explanation other than past life. Absolutely nothing in my life that exposed me to any Eastern religion or philosophy. But I was working at the University of Pittsburgh, and I saw a poster one day of Maharishi Mahesh Yogi and an advertisement for a transcendental meditation introductory lecture. And I went thinking Maharishi would be there. And of course, it was just his, American representatives. But I did get into TM, and that's how I met Ravi at a TM retreat. And Ravi really I defer to Ravi because he really had that fire of seeking a personal guru. So we went to teacher training, TM training for 6 months. We were initiated by Maharishi, but it wasn't a personal relationship. So Ravi's quest, I went along with Ravi. And by God's grace, we came to Guruji, and we never stopped. We stopped our seeking once we came to Guruji.
Oh, beautiful.
That's about it, yeah. Personally, what happened for me, how it started was when I was 19, my brother came back from the Peace Corps, and he brought me these very mystical books by Yogi Ram Chakra, okay? And these were books written in the beginning of the 1900s, shortly after Vivekananda came to America. So I studied those books, and it led me to a search through books like Autobiography of a Yogi, etc. And finally, as Karuna said, I came to TM. And it was a very powerful meditation technique from a great tradition, the Shankaracharya tradition. I mean, Maharishi's guru was one of the Jyotir Mats, okay, leaders of the Shankaracharya 4 seats. And we gained a lot of knowledge from that, but there wasn't a personal relationship with the guru. So I went on many different paths before I met Guruji. One great spiritual master who I still love and have a relationship with is Meher Baba. So I was very much into Meher Baba. And right at the time when I met Guruji, I was very much into Swami Muktananda. And I had saw him several times. And I almost took an initiation from him. And that's another story because Guruji was in the same room with me. And that's another story later on.
Sure.
But after that, Karuna and I, Guruji asked us to go to Michigan because he had a lot of devotees there and asked us to start a small mission for him. And that's how it ended up.
Okay. So I'll start from you guys then, since you just since we just finished on that topic. So what was it like for both of you individually when you first laid eyes on Guruji, and what was the setting like? What was going on? Was it a satsang going on? And what was the impression you had right away from the get-go?
Okay, there was an American yogi, his name was Vasudeva, and he was from the Ananda Marga organization, and he organized Guruji's travels in 1972. So as Karuna said, there was a poster to go see Guruji at a lecture hall. So we went there, and your dad was there playing tabla, and Ramamata was there, and Omkar Das was there. I don't know if you guys remember Omkar Das. So I was so impressed, the same as Hari was, with Guruji's satsang. I mean, I never heard anything like it. And afterwards, they offered a personal interview with Guruji. And at that, you know, I was never that close to a guru ever, you know. So I was so scared. But he made me feel so at ease, and he was so loving. And, you know, I mean, at that point, he had me, okay? And I was, I knew this was my guru. But I had a couple months of doing some other things, and, you know, finally traveling to New York and spending time with Guruji in New York City, and on a tour up into the, with the Shivananda Yoga organization. And I spent like 2 or 3 months traveling with him at that time. And I was never formally initiated that entire time. But I think the initiation was already there, as Karuna said, past life. I really believe that. I really believe there was a connection. Otherwise, how could it happen? You know, I was just a ordinary goofball hippie, you know, of the time. So we're so fortunate. Yes.
Thank you. Karuna, anything you want to add to that?
No, I would just say I remember, you know, just not so much the satsang and what was said, but just the feeling of love and that family. And Ramamata, when she smiled at me, I mean, it was just, it melted your heart. It was just total belonging and pure love, honestly. More than the intellect, it was through my heart.
Oh, beautiful.
Wonderful. Haricharan Das, I think you sort of answered this question already. So, yeah, but you did say that when you first saw his satsang, it was so incredible for you that you were already hooked in, similar to what Ravi said. Did you want to add anything more?
No, I've never seen anything like Guruji satsang, and I've seen hundreds and hundreds of satsangs. But what Guruji was doing was in a class of its own. I can only say,
yeah,
absolutely extraordinary.
Nagendra, tell us about, you know, I know you were following Guruji since you were very young, but tell us when you were actively following him and it was more, you basically decided that that's going to be a major part of your life. He's going to be your, you know, your guru. How did that all happen? And how old were you and what was it like?
As my parents were devotional, I was looking for enlightenment, creating my own chantings and prayers. Sri Guruji Keshavadas ji, pleasing spiritual introduction to Harikathas. There was a Nirupana Bhaga called Introduction and discourses that attracted me to this spiritual line. As a student of BCom in the college in 1959, hearing his programs, I got attracted to his personality and boldness of presentation on God and his glories. First, I thought I will reserve this life to local and worldly things, earn some money, do some good work, and in the next life I will reserve it for spirituality. But on that day, Guruji's message was with a song of great Saint Purandara Das. He said, you may not get human life again. Knowing this, do not be a dull person. So that it changed my life. And I decided to dedicate my life to Guruji and God thereafter. So I will go on answering other aspects of the beautiful questions as we go on. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Dayaram, Padma, I know Padu was, obviously in the same region where Guruji was residing, and she and her family knew him from a very early age. But if you would like to say what your impression was as you came to know of him, or more about him, and from a childhood perspective.
So what I knew was,
yeah.
I used to be so little and I used to be sleeping when he was doing the Harikatha. And when he used to start singing, I used to wake up.
Mm-hmm.
Always I remember that. And he used to later even tell, did you get up when I was singing? I'll wake you up now and then, okay? Don't worry. That's all. You have to get up and just see me and clap and sing. That's all. What I'm telling this. Hari bol, that's all. Say that all the time.
Beautiful.
So even till today when I'm sleeping, I have that memory.
Wow.
Wonderful.
So in my case, it was 1982, November of 82. I had been studying Hatha Yoga with a woman named Rama Jyoti Vernon, who started the Yoga Journal and also the Yoga Teachers Association. Guruji spent months with her in Berkeley, California, he and mother staying with her. She just passed away November 23rd. We just had a memorial last Wednesday with her. She left her earthly body. So she kept saying, Daya, and I wasn't Daya at that time, you need to meet this man. If anybody was this teacher, he's your teacher. I can tell he's your guy. He's coming to my home to give satsang in Bellevue, Washington, where we live now. And sure enough, I went there for a satsang. And as soon as I heard him and saw him, now mind you, I'd been studying SRF lessons and Yogananda for about a year and a half. But immediately I fell in love. There was somebody that embodied what was in the book. He embodied what I was reading about. And all of a sudden, and I also the next day had a interview. And in that interview, he gave me my mantra. He gave me the name Daya Ram. And at first I was taken aback. Most of you know that Daya Mata was the president of SRF. So at first I felt like, you can't give me a name, because I was thinking Yogananda. Anyway, all that got reconciled relatively quickly. And there was no confusion. There were some other mystical things that happened between the dance when I first had confusion between Yogananda and Guruji. But that all resolved itself in time. But it was really love at first sight. And just being in his presence, I always felt like I was dancing, on the shoulders of angels, just being in his presence. From the time I met him until the last time we saw each other in the summer of 1997. So,
oh, beautiful.
So, Ravi, I remember you had mentioned to me one time how you actually discovered, or how you felt there was like a signal that Guruji would be your guru, that he's going to be your guru. You had that moment where you actually realized that.
Yeah, what happened was Guruji was in New York City.
Yeah.
And I was on my way to see Swami Muktananda because he had a big ashram actually in New York City, a hotel. He bought a hotel, had a huge ashram. And I had been there twice before. And I told Guruji I was going to see Swami Muktananda. And he said, well, I'm in New York at the same time. Why don't you come see me? I said, okay. So I went there, and I remember they were staying in the Shivananda Yoga Center in Manhattan. So I went there, and the first thing that happened was I didn't see Guruji, but Omkar Das brought me sambar and rice. That was my first sambar rice initiation,
Yes.
So
Yeah.
Somehow, like after a couple days, I told Guruji I was going to see Swami Muktananda. And Guruji sort of said, well, I'm going too. So I went with him and Ramamata, and Swami Muktananda really received Guruji well.
Oh.
And he had Ramamata and Guruji stand up and sing Nitila Nature, Om Namah Shivaya, that particular bhajan,
Yeah, yeah.
And there were hundreds of people there, okay? And Guruji and Ramamata stood up, and that was quite an experience for me. It was like, Swami Muktananda was a siddha and a very powerful yogi, a very powerful guru. So, him recognizing Guruji and giving Guruji a portfolio to, bring bhakti, the Shiva bhakti, to all of his followers. I was really impressed with that on an intellectual level, but also it was quite a spiritual experience. So finally, I'll make it short. We were invited to go back into a small room with Swami Muktananda. There was maybe 10 or 15 people in the room. And Guruji was talking with Swami Muktananda. And Swami Muktananda remembered Ramamata because Karuna will certify this. Karuna will tell you this, that Swami Muktananda, Ramamata sat on his lap when she was a younger child, okay, in the particular village. And he remembered.
God.
Yeah. So he remembered her. So this was like fascinating, man. This was really blew my mind, So I was sitting in the back of the room. And one way that Swami Muktananda would give Shaktipat, okay, he would hit you with a peacock feather on the back, okay? And people would have spiritual experiences, So I was sitting in the back of the room, and he said to me, he looked at me and said, what do you want? What do you want? So at that particular time, I could say, Swamiji, I want your initiation. I looked at Guruji, and instead I said, Swamiji, I want your blessing. So he called me up, he whacked me with a peacock feather, and from that moment on, I was with Guruji. That's the story.
How beautiful.
Yeah.
When I was meeting my Guruji at his home with an appointment, I requested him one day, I want to see you. He said, okay, come at 9 o'clock in the morning. So I went there. It was in Malleshwaram, Bangalore. And he asked me after introduction, what do you want to know from me? I did not know anything. I was just 18, so whatever came to my mind, I told him that I want to become just like you. I didn't know that was such a big question, and I was asking it so humbly. And then he also laughed, like all of you laughed, and he said, what you do is you go on writing whatever I speak in the lectures. So gradually you get all the knowledge. So from that day on, I bought notebooks, and whenever Guruji was speaking, I wrote from the Omkar all the way to the Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. All the songs, all these lectures, because there was no Kannada shorthand at that time. I was writing in Kannada language, which he was speaking. I made my own shorthand, Purandara Vithala, Pundarika Varada, Panduranga Hari Vitthal, Pu, Va, Pa, Ha, Vi, my own handwriting, my own shorthand, until the Whitman shorthand was converted into Kannada, and it came after 8 years. So before that, I had to do my own Kannada shorthand, and I did that. And after 4 years of this one, I had one full Godrej Almera of books on Guruji's writings or messages and lectures. What the Prime Minister came, or the Maharaja came, or the Mayor came, whatever they spoke, and even Guruji, whatever the message was on that day. All those things. If, for example, Karuna Sagara Apara, Karuna Sagara Apara, that song he would sing 10 minutes. So wherever he went in modulation, I would mark my notes with waves so that he had a modulation right there. So with that minor detail, I covered everything. That helped me to write Sri Guruji's autobiography called the Bhadrigiri Bhakti Yogi, which is Bhakti Yogi of Bhadrigiri, like the autobiography of a yogi. So this happened at that time, and then as I went on writing these books, one day I got an inspiration that I should write his life also. Then, because I had all this material with me, and I went and met Guruji's mom and requested her to give me the experiences of her birth and the surroundings nearby at the time of his birth and the growing up. And also I went to mother-in-law of Guruji, Sushila Bai, Ramamata's mother, who knew everything about Guruji's and her daughter's marriage, from their first meeting all the way to the marriage and birth of Murli and Geeta. I took notes of all those things, and those things helped me to write the Bhadrigiri's Guru Bhakti Yogi book in Kannada. So the question that Pratyaksh mentioned right here was describe the first meeting and the impressions of the Guruji. That was the one. And the second one was he's talking about the Guru Dakshina. How do you give a Guru Dakshina to a Guru? Or is there any systematic method? In India, what they do is they put fruits and flowers in a plate, garland to Guruji, and a cover envelope with a small Dakshina, which is Guru Dakshina, and bend before him. And after a few minutes, Guruji blesses them, asking them what is their personal God, so that he could give them the particular mantra, so that they love to have it and chant it daily. So in Gandhinagar, Anandrao Circle, Majestic Circle, which is a very famous circle in Bangalore, very busy circle, has 9 theatres on a single road. On that place, Mr. Guru Swami, Mr. Balaya was a great man. He arranged Guruji's 7 days program called Chaitanya Saptaha. Hari Hari Bol was the mantra right there. So Guruji did that 7 days beautiful program, and day and night everybody was chanting Hari Hari Bol. And Guruji, after the program and before the program, he never spoke for 7 days. After this festivity, Guru, the organizer, arranged a Shishya Pradak, the what you call the Guru Dakshina and the initiation program for all the people who are interested. So the line was long, and all the people were finished with getting the thing. And then I had already started serving Guruji for 2 years past. And then I also went to the room, and he asked me, what is the mantra you like to have? 2 months ago, or actually a few days ago, Guruji had described the beautiful glory of Ramayana. So I had that love for Lord Rama. I said Rama. And then he gave me the beautiful chanting. And then seeing my gradual services, one day in my book, he wrote Jai Hanuman, in addition to Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. So that I have followed that. Even today I write that, chant that whenever I get free time. And few lines of that I every day write it. So that is the Guru Dakshina process by any Guru to a disciple.
I have a general question, sort of a follow-up to this. Is it the disciple who seeks out the Guru, or the Guru who seeks out the disciple, or is it a combination of both? Like, anybody can answer this, but I'm just wondering, like, or is it just something preordained or predestined, that based on past life karma, that it's just going to happen, the meeting's going to happen? Like, how do you guys feel about that? What would you say?
Yeah, it's true that Gurujis always, seek good disciples.
Mm-hmm.
And more than that, disciples will be always looking for gurus. But in rare occasions, gurus also, in turn, seek good disciples as well. So both the things are right.
Guruji used to say that it's a mutual descent of grace from God and a mutual yearning, ascent. So it's a descent, ascent, but it's all grace of God.
Right.
I agree with Ravi.
Yeah, same
By
thing.
his grace, we meet each other. That's all.
Yes.
The same thing I've asked over the years, because we have so many friends walking the world with us, and you long for them to get on the spiritual path, in particular, for many years, wanting them to meet your guru and
Yes.
embrace that. And you always felt sad when he came to town. But I came to the same realization. It was a combination of the person had to have it within themselves. Much of that was karma, previous lives, but they had to have that spark, that jyoti within themselves to reach up. And then the guru is there, if the grace is there, for him to reach down, and the two come together and the dance begins.
That line comes, Binu Hari Kripa Milahi Nahi Santa.
If you read about Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, he was yearning for disciples. Yeah. He was a priest at the temple, and he was wondering, when are my disciples coming? Because he was, and when Swami Vivekananda, finally showed up, then he had his disciple. So sometimes the gurus are searching for the disciple also.
Right. So, Haricharan Das, tell us about once you obviously became disciple of Guruji, what was the diksha or the initiation process? What was that like? And what is it? Was it some? Well, I guess it could be the same for everybody, but how was that? That taking up of the disciplehood, how was that process? And also tell us about your name, how you were given your name.
I think the diksha process was like most people. There was various initiations, whether it was Gayatri or Dattatreya or other Mahamitra Daya. That this Guruji would give various initiations from time to time. Mm-hmm. So, like many other people, I participated in that. With my name, there's a long story, but I'll only say it short. It was at one of his birthday celebrations, where it was prior to the birthday celebration, but he just was extremely insistent that was my name, and there was no question, no doubt, no discussion. That was it. So I accepted that.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. I think you all probably, was it a quick sort of was it like once you got that name, you were instantly using it within the organization, and it became a part of you quickly, or did it sort of take time to kind of like, because you weren't called that name ever before. So how was that sort of like for each one of you to get a different name to be known by?
Well, you didn't go back to your mom and dad and say, "Hey, I got a new name."
Yeah.
You didn't do that, okay? It was only within the mandali that you were known.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. That. But Karuna to this day still calls me Ravi. Hey, Ravi. More than Ravi. So that's our experience.
Yes.
I think, Ravi, correct me if I'm wrong, for you and I, that would have been in 1973.
Oh.
In the Washington, D.C. temple on 16th Street. And I found the actual paper in Guruji's writing where he gave us our names. So we didn't know him very well. We had seen him in Pittsburgh, and we went to Washington to meet him, and he had interviews, as he always did. Ravi went first and came out. I think Morley was there, and probably Namadeva was there as well.
Namadeva.
Might have been the secretary, that ushered us in to see Guruji. So Ravi was first, and I was second. Well, I don't know what Ravi and Guruji talked about, but I was just in awe of Guruji. I had no questions. I just sat there and looked at him and let him do all the speaking. So he wrote down Mr. Robbie, R-O-B-B-I, with an Om symbol, and he put Ravi Das, servant of God, the light. And then he put the word worship. And then he drew a line, and he has my name, Kathy Kanik, which is my birth name. And he put love in big, underlined it, and he put Karuna Devi, goddess of compassion. So I still have this piece of paper.
Wow.
And that's the story of how we got our names, which we still strive to live up to those names.
As my name was Nagendra, the serpent god, with his enormous love, Guruji started calling me Naga. So that is, same Nagendra abridged into Naga.
Yes.
But that he loved to call me all the time. In the beginning, I was calling him Sir because I was a college student. Every time I used to call him Sir, Sir, Sir. And he said, you need not tell me, sir. You can call me Anna. But I said, I cannot. But he said, then you do one thing. For a few days, don't tell me anything. Just talk to me. And gradually you will pick it up. And that worked, and I got the quick transformation from that Sir to Anna.
So, what was it like to kind of, once you were part of the organization and you became disciple, you got to know some of the other people. What was it like? Were you eased into it, or was it like, okay, hit the ground running? You need to do this. You need to do this. Like, because the way I see each one of you, there's no specialty. Like there's like one person who specializes in something. I think like everybody has to be a jack of all trades. They're all, selling books at some time. They're writing something. They're recording, or they're cooking, or they're, that's what I've kind of understood. I could be wrong, but like, how was it to be a part of this organization in the beginning?
Yeah, I will go.
Yeah, go ahead.
Serving the Guru. The next question from Pratyaksh is so beautiful. The acclimatization process. So even today, I meditate the mantra I received from Guruji. After bathing, I usually write those names. Seeing my sincere services, Guruji, actually blessed me in so many ways. And one day in a meeting, I asked him, how can we do meditation while we are working? We cannot do it together. But Guruji said, this is a beautiful question. Always he used to do that with questions, and he said, just like the heartbeat that's going on when we are working many other things, just like that, by practice continuously, you'll be able to do that. And he taught me that, and that helped me to manage all my work. Whatever I was doing, even when I was cycling, there was no problem for me to tell Sri Ram Jai Ram in my mind. So like that, I practiced that and got that doing two things together. And at that time, the transition was, I was being helped by my uncle for my college education. When I attracted to Guruji, I left the home and I had nowhere to go. But many families, like 3 or 4 Guruji's satsang families, they helped me to ask me to come to their home. So while these things were going on, Onkar also came to visit Guruji, and after 1 year he joined us also because he was a student still at the college. And many beautiful songs Guruji was already writing and singing. And the main lesson that I got from him was coming from the great book he wrote and the great song he wrote in that called Rama Rama, Rama Yandu Munde Sagua. Let's go on singing in the name of God, Ram Ram, Krishna Krishna, like that. In that song, he beautifully laid out the tenets of all the devotees, how they should follow. We should meet every week in a temple, sing the glories of God, and always help each other who are in difficulties, who are in problems, help them, because we should see God in them. And that's not, you need not go to a temple to see God, but you can see God and right them by helping them. All these things helped me very much. And I was in the flow of Guruji's satsang, as many friends like Sitaram, Narayana, HLKN Swami, and the Mandali sisters all joined. And in the beginning, Guruji started this institution, as Ravi was telling, Dasakirtana Mandali. And on that day, he composed that beautiful song and initiated all of us into that group so that we could all follow these beautiful principles and follow that great tradition. When these things were going on, and I was trying to make the notes of all these things, and wonderful. The thing is that one beautiful sister called Sushila, she said, Guruji, I want to put this song at your feet. And she sang that one. Yellow Kanada Hari Dasara Kandevu, Sarthaka Vayitu Namajanma. We saw a great master whom we cannot see anywhere in the world. And our lives became blessed. Beautiful song, 8 to 9 stanzas, one after another, and it became a beautiful hit. She wrote it in the style of Lavani, and such a great hit it became. So as per our Paddu's childhood, I remembered when she was telling something about her childhood. In 1961, Guruji was doing Harikatha in a beautiful school hall. For thousands of people were just, attentive, so attentively hearing. And Paddu's father and her mother, they used to come, and because mom used to come directly from home and dad used to come from work, which is bicycle, and she would sit in the back seat, and all the three of them would come together, and the other 3-4 children, Gayatri, Geeta, and 2 more. Tell me.
You and Rajeshwari.
Wonderful. All the 4 of them would walk with them, and wherever the program went, and after 10 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 11 o'clock in the night, they would go all the way back to their homes, walking. All the way. So I can never forget their beautiful life. And mom, Lakshma mom, such a great lady. Thank you.
Yeah, Dayaram, I'd like to ask you, since we just talked about Padma, being a part of this organization, you met your wonderful bride that way, and obviously made many other wonderful connections and friendships. So what was it like for you in the beginning when you joined Guruji's mission? And if there were any challenges, I know there were a lot of rewarding aspects about it, obviously, but what did you find if there were some challenges for you personally? Because always, whenever you start something, it's not always rosy. So I want to hear that too.
Yeah. So 82, November, I met him. May, he came back for a program. Guess who was in charge of organizing that program? I was in charge. So immediately you're into the fire. And what that means is
right away.
Advertising. You're doing the pre-show harmonium. Ravi knows my 3 bhajans I know I'm singing. Yes. I'm organizing the books in the back. I'm going out finding the venues, and here's this white guy running around promoting this beautiful Indian man in a predominantly Judeo-Christian environment in Seattle. And, but the love was so much, I didn't care. So he was coming here twice a year. So I would do that. And what was interesting, to get people involved, like the people I was telling you, people I love so much, they all were hesitant to get involved. And so it was like a one-man band, but when he showed up, his magnetism, by the time he left, the house was overflowing with people. And so it was usually 20-hour days for me. Then finally, after I gave his massages at night, he'd send me to bed for 4 hours. But probably one of the most humorous stories was, I was a traditional corporate America guy at Todd Shipyard. So one day, Guruji and I were walking in Bellevue Square, which is a very upscale mall. And he held my hand, and we were walking through the mall holding hands. And he was in his dhoti and his top. And sure enough, what happened was a colleague of mine from the shipyard said, "You'll never guess what I saw. I saw Doug Briggs walking in the mall holding hands with this Indian man." and then the person said, "Oh, don't worry, that's his guru." Oh, yeah. So anyway, the biggest challenge at times was, I think I mentioned earlier, was my expectation and my longing for people to love him or the path as much as I did. And finally, after a half a dozen or 10 tours, I just was resigned to the fact that my dharma was to do it. And he even pulled me aside and said, "Daya, you create the platform and let God do the work." So I've had to let go of that because psychologically I had sort of a corporate mind, cost and this and that. So all I did was I ended up sponsoring him, creating the platform, doing what I could, and just, letting the magic happen with him. And I was always amazed because I know by the time he left, the place was like, the first night would have like 2 to 3 dozen people. By the time he left, there would be hundreds of people. and it would be
Oh.
bursting, all wanting to see him off at the airport, all in tears.
Exactly.
I would collapse exhausted, and he would go to the next stop, and everybody is receiving him with just as much enthusiasm, and he's fresh as a flower,
Yes.
and
Always, everywhere,
and I-
wherever he went.
I said it was humanly impossible for a person to do that if they weren't not a saint in themselves.
Okay.
I mean, so anyway, so the challenges was my own expectations about how others could receive him or the path. And as I mentioned, I came to this path because of pain. And I know so many of us are in pain, and I found sort of the way out, so anyway.
Well, so we left our parents, our families, our homes in Pittsburgh, and it was impossible to explain to them why we were moving to Detroit and what we were going to be doing. So, and we found ourselves in Detroit, Michigan. And at the time, it was like first generation Indians had come largely to be engineers for the, the big three automakers. So the hunger they had to hear, from someone from India speaking in their language, because Guruji could speak in any language. And we would typically have 3 programs a day. He was in such demand, 1 in the morning at somebody's house, 1 in the afternoon somewhere else. Detroit, it's a big metro area, 1 at night, somebody else's place. And the hunger to have, they just felt so fulfilled to have Guruji come and remind them of home and what's really important in life, because they left their home also. So they left their parents and they came and built families here. There was no temple. We were at a lot of the temples that were like just humble beginnings.
Yes.
And so we, just immersed ourselves in that. And I really wasn't raised to be, I didn't understand hospitality and how to treat people and how to receive people. We learned all that from just the great Indian hospitality and tradition. We learned that from the people we were around. We were like so ill prepared, but everybody was so kind and Guruji was so forgiving. I made a lot of mistakes with people, guests to the home, to our temple and everything. And Guruji was just loving and forgiving. And we just ran on the energy that was Guruji. Like it really resonated with me what Dhairam said about, 20-hour days he would come and stay with us for like 6 weeks.
Yes.
In the dead of Michigan winter, when they used to get ice storms and snowstorms, and we'd drive them everywhere. And it was just, we were in our own little heaven.
And there was a small American yoga community from Swami Satchidananda that helped us in the beginning, and to bring Americans also to the satsang. So we had the 2 communities coming together like that. The one thing I have to say is, like Karuna said, the North Indian people, they love Guruji because he could do Ramayan and, singing all the bhajans in North Indian style. And then the South Indians loved him too. And I didn't understand that in the very beginning. It took a while. And, we would go to we would eat so much. Every place we went, we had to eat.
It was Thanksgiving every day, huh?
Yeah. It was North Indian food, South Indian food. It's like, we need that energy,
And you could digest at that time, not now.
Right.
Right.
Bhajan and then Bhojan.
Yes.
Yeah, bhajan and their bhojan. Yeah.
Rightly put.
I wanted to ask, obviously, whoever wants to answer this, but, there were a lot of people that you saw come and go, over your years of following Guruji, and who came in, maybe stayed for a little while. Who knows? It could be a year or less, or, a little bit more than that. But at some point, maybe they just didn't stay on the path or stay the course. What was it that kept you guys going? Because I can imagine there were times when probably it was tiring, frustrating. You mentioned some of the long hours you put into it. Was what you were getting from Guruji, the bliss, the love, was that what kept it going? And was it just that you guys felt that more than maybe somebody else who just didn't feel it enough, or they had some other issues? I'm just wondering how did you guys just keep at it, you know?
His love
It was,
and grace.
surrender of ego, just not having an ego, which a lot of people did that came,
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of it too, as I think Guruji mentioned a number of times, remember I was mentioning I was conflicted on how many people I loved and they'd come and enjoy it, and then they would not come back. In fact, a lot of them, when they came in his vibration, their life would start transforming and they would get scared, because you couldn't come into his realm, into his Shakti, without it changing your life. So if you weren't prepared for change, you didn't want to be around his Shaktipat. But so what happened, he finally told me, he said, Daya, there'll be many people, the curious, but not the serious. And out of all the students, there's only a core group of maybe 108 or 1,008 that are true disciples, that were really meant karmically to be part of the mission. And so I finally found peace with it. But it took many years and a few tears to come to that, because of how often you wanted your dear friends to, to go on this journey with you.
Yeah, you saw the real bliss there. So you said, wherever we go, we cannot get this bliss and joy and this great person and fund of knowledge. So this is the perfect person, perfect guru for me. So you never go anywhere else. Go ahead, Anu.
I think Hadi Charna mentioned too, in the meantime, and so did I've had many teachers along the way. So when Guruji would go to India, like Baba Haridas, the silent Moni saint, and Swami Satchidananda, I had gone to satsang with him. And Guruji was never threatened. He'd encourage us to spend time with these other teachers, but there was never any question mark about who the guru was versus who was a teacher. And they still inspired. And there was always that respect for the other teachers. And as Hadi Chowdhury said, he's been exposed, and I think subsequently we all have, to other teachers that also, they're not our guru, but they still have added to our lives.
Very true.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Anu.
I think that's interesting that you brought that up, because I have seen other gurus speak, and when they one of the gurus that I heard, he sounded just like my grandfather. He has a mission where they follow Radha a lot, Radha Rani. So he was saying that the one of the qualities of a true guru is somebody who doesn't have any issues with you meeting other gurus, or even the fear that you may leave me for somebody else. They usually never fear those things. It's always like, hey, have at it. If you want to go and attend one of their workshops, please. It doesn't offend me. And I think that's greatness, what you just mentioned.
Yeah, it made in my case, it made my love for him even more. And even I talked openly with the other teachers, and many of them had met Guruji and just thought the world of him. So, and with him being gone for such a long time, it helped bridge those moments, those dark nights of the soul, the 6 months when he wasn't around. I used to go down, I used to see Hadi Chowdhury down at Santa Clara with Sham, and to try, because those were long periods when you were just caught in the coal mine with a lot of soot all around, trying to keep your eye on the ball of life,
Yeah. So we're getting to my favorite question now. One of my favorite questions of this whole thing. Whenever we think of a spiritual guru, when we think of the spirit, we think of some incredible vision we get, or or some out-of-body experience that you have by the grace of the guru. So if each one of you can tell me, when did you ever have that? You may have had multiple experiences like that, but tell me about one time, or at least one time, when you had that supernatural or mystical experience with Guruji.
In 1967 November, Guruji returned from the first trip abroad with Sister Geeta, a great devotee of Guruji, and he wanted to show her the glorious Himalayas temples there, and also the Pandharapura. And they went on by air and asked me to come by train and meet them in Delhi. As I did not have much traveling experience, I packed 3 bags and a camera and started in the night train from Bangalore to Madras on my way to Delhi. Because I got less sleep in the train, I slept on the bench of the platform of the station at Madras. By the time I woke up, somebody had stolen my 2 bags of clothes. I complained to the police, did not help. Then I caught the next Delhi train to continue the traveling. After a few hours of travel, someone said, the train stops here in the next station for half an hour and good breakfast is sold there. So I was hungry. I liked it and got down from the train. By the time I came back, my train had also gone. It had left the station. After 4 hours of waiting, the next train came and I sat in that one. As I was tired too much, I got good sleep in the train. After 4 hours, I opened my eyes and the train had stopped in a station called Matra. To my astonishment, the train I had missed and the same compartment I sat in were right in front of my eyes. I was delighted, got down, walked into the old train and found my camera and the bag still intact on the wall. Travelers asked me, "Ab tak aap kidhar gaye the?" Where had you been until this time? And I told them the story, and they were wondering, and they felt so happy about the entire thing. So I felt this was a great grace of God and Guru. Otherwise, I could not have, actually reached Delhi safely at all. And such a great things happened. So many. This is one of them. Many more miracles happened, in this life of mine, small life of mine. So whenever chance comes later on in my life, I will share with that all those things with you. Go ahead, Anu.
Yeah. Haricharan Das, we haven't heard from you in a while. So tell us about any miracles or amazing experiences like that.
I think that I'll follow my good friend Nagendra's lead, and maybe I'll write about it in the future.
Sure.
Okay.
Many events.
Yes.
Any one that you can share that you quickly comes to mind?
Not at this time.
Okay.
So, Guruji used to dictate, and he made a little small book on Kanakadasa, so he dictated, and that book was finished. So I had to take it to Sudhindra printing press to Malleshwaram. So I was taking the edited copy to make it printed to give it for printing press. So he said, I had to go in the bus. This was from Vishwa Shanti Ashram to Malleshwaram. So it was quite a big one. So I had to put it in the file and take it in the bag. Then he said, go by bus by myself. And then I was just looking at him because it is so much crowded bus. So I was wondering, how would I take this safely to go there? And then I was just looking at him. He said, you go there, you'll get an empty bus, sit down, go get down, you give it and come back. You'll come back safely, he said. I was just looking, I said, okay, whatever it is, let me go. And then I just went. You know how the ashram is, some of them you have seen, everybody has seen here. So this was in 84 or 85. Now the ashram has changed quite a lot. So went out. It's not unbelievable, as you said, miracle only. The empty bus came. I was a little bit scared. Just the driver and the conductor. I said, should I get in or not? I was even that scared. So I got in, and then, so I bought the ticket. Nobody. And that bus did not stop any place. Because there are stops, right? That bus did not stop. I said, okay, hope this is the right one. It's not taking me anywhere. I was wondering. I was just praying and going, and it stopped in Malleshwaram. I went down, everything went so smooth. I gave it, and I got a better bus to and came back. I just went to Guruji's room. I just did namaskar. He said, I know that. He did not say anything. I didn't speak to him anything. I know that. Did you buy me anything? Any snacks for me on the way? He likes that, right? I had bought something.
Yeah.
And then he said, that is obedience, he said. That is obedience. I know that. He said, I know that. He said, whatever I say, it is Satya, means the truth. You have to just be around me. That's all he said. Nothing else. Just be around me.
That's correct.
That's all.
So one time we were traveling on pilgrimage, and we were in Singapore, and Guruji wanted to escape from he said, Daya, come, let's go. And so we grabbed a taxi, and you have to understand there were 60 people on this pilgrimage. I said, Guruji said, just come, let's go. So he wanted to go and get a little space, and so we went to the shopping area in Singapore. And so we're there, and he's looking at rings and watches. He hardly bought anything. He just liked to go shopping for the fun of it, right? Window shopping, and just get a break from just the crush of everything. So we're sitting there, and all of a sudden he turns to me and goes, Daya, he said, Mother and Sham are chasing us. Go down the street, around the block, and they'll be getting out of a taxi in a few minutes. Please bring them to me. And I looked at him, he says, please go. So I go down the block, around the corner, and sure enough, a taxi comes up, opens up, and there's Sham and Mother. And I turned white as a ghost. I know, I could feel I turned white as a ghost. And I go, Mother, Sham? They go, Daya, where's Guruji? Come with me. And I went back there. Now, you have to understand, I'm a trained scientist, right? So my mind was trying to analyze this. I had to let go of all that. And he used to tell me, Daya, when you come to India, be like the sponge. Don't let go of your analytical mind. Just take it all in. But that was one that early on in our relationship, that was one that was, it just took me aback, because there's no way I could reconcile how he knew they were coming. But so he didn't show that. I mean, his unconditional love, I feel, was the greatest miracle that he demonstrated all the time. That's
it is just one little drops. We can tell that's all. It is so much.
Yes.
How much songs he has done. There's so many songs. In that songs, all the message can be there. Mahime apara, karune apara. Nagendra knows so many.
How beautiful.
Ravi,
We can keep talking years together.
yeah.
Till it won't be finished.
Yeah. And Pratyaksh has the next question as the travel. Should I continue?
Unless Ravi and Karuna have something they want to
Please, I'm waiting for
share
them.
about their experience, any sort of.
Kindly go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Ravi.
You come and show your place.
Well, I had several experiences, mystical experiences, in satsangs.
Right.
Where Guruji would transform into Ganesha, and once he transformed into Hanuman, right before my eyes. Okay? I can't explain it. I can't describe it.
Yeah.
But his entire body, everything became that. Right there in the satsang. Okay? This happened twice. But one other thing, like Padma said, a lot of the bhajans were experiences also. So one time we went to bless these people that were starting a sprout business. They wanted to have a sprout business, supermarkets to place sprouts and all that. And they wanted Guruji to come and bless their business and all that. So we had a puja and a satsang there. It was mainly all Americans. So on the way, very briefly, on the way back, Guruji went into ecstasy. And right on the spot, he composed a beautiful song, Panduranga Swami, Vishwa Antaryami, Satyanarayana, Deva Namami, Deva Namami. And he was shaking and, he was flushed and in tears. And sometimes he was pounding on the dashboard, a little bit of tabla or something. And the song was just like Shakti coming through him,
Wow.
I don't know how I drove home. you know, with that going on, you know.
Yes.
But it was like an unbelievable experience.
Yes.
And, you know, we got back and I told Karuna, I said, Karuna, you have to get that song, you know, what it is from Guruji to write it down for us and all that.
Is a sign in itself.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was a mystical experience also in a different way while Guruji was having a mystical experience. So,
So this morning, like every day we do light the lamp and do our little prayers. I was doing Anjani Works virtual. I could hear my son-in-law to be Andrew, his name. I heard something, what is this?
Frame.
The frame fell off, the Guruji's picture, something I heard. So I said, okay, let me finish my puja. Then she came out, did you finish your puja? I said, yeah. I have given Guruji's picture, the small frame. It's not too big. It's like 4x6 something. Yeah. So
5x7.
he has kept it on the table, and around it is around Guruji's books and other things. The frame fell down from the table, and the Guruji's picture came out, and the glass also came out. Nothing broke. The picture came out from the frame. So they were wondering why today. I said, Guruji said, concentrate on me at least today more. I am here today. You know, he did not know today was Guruji's MahaSamadhi day.
that's something.
You know, he listens every day to Guruji, and he reads some stuff. So when I said, he was more, I was thinking, oh, is that so? And then I said, Guruji wanted to see each other. Right. Though we call, sometimes we don't see each other every day on the FaceTime or whatever, right? I took it like that. He wants us to see each other more, converse, and do all the stuff like what we are doing. We need that, right? Satsang to everybody.
And I think one other thing, I think most of us have been with Guruji when he's gone into Samadhi. And that one is, I have seen the whole,
Pandrapur, right?
I've seen the whole, it's happened multiple times, I know in my case, and I'm sure Ravi and Karuna, but the whole, and Haricharan, the whole space, everybody goes into tears. Everybody feels it's like a wave of Shakti comes across the whole audience, just as the Shaktipat goes through his body. We had it up in the Himalayas on a pilgrimage a number of times, and the whole space transforms just when he goes into Samadhi. And so those were experiences that you can't put into words, but you had that experience. And
when he goes to Badragiri, he will start talking in Konkani,
with God.
Start talking in Konkani.
Yeah. When with God he's to speak in Konkani.
Yeah, he's start talking. And his feet won't be on the floor at all. It will be just something, Wow. That's why, though we were so young, that's why Guruji said that drishya means that, that sight will never be forgotten. He says that never be forgotten. It will be always with you. It will be always, that Shakti will be with you.
Yeah.
Yes.
It will be always there. It's true.
When, in 1977, I went to Badragiri with Guruji, and we had darshan of the original,
Veera Vittala, yeah.
Yeah. And Guruji went into ecstasy, and the actual Murti had tears.
Yes, tears. Yeah. Tears.
Right in front of me, the tears were coming down out of the Murti.
Right.
Wow.
That little
so that was
Murti.
another experience. Yeah.
We have seen.
Unbelievable.
That little Murti, tears going on.
And the same over in the larger temple in Visakhapatnam. They used to talk about that whenever he came, and even scientists would try and research how does it come from a stone murti, Anyway, so those are a few.
Yeah.
People can go on.
So we actually mentioned, I think Nagendra brought it up before we finished here, but you actually mentioned Badragiri and Himalayas and stuff like that. So tell us about maybe something, highlight one or two moments during travel. I know you guys traveled a lot with him, different within the country, outside of the country. Something that just stands out, if you can, how was it traveling with him? and if you can highlight something that's really memorable.
Yeah, I will take over.
Yeah, go ahead.
Guruji arranged, 3 All India pilgrimages with devotees, and he widely traveled more than 10 times around India. By 1966, myself and Wonkar, he was called Dasapa at that time, were blessed to take care of the details in each of these programs and camps of Guruji wherever he went, because it would go on for 2-3 months. In Bhadragiri temple of Sri Viruthala in 1961, Guruji showed the devotees the beautiful Lord with tears of joy, and everyone was thrilled and blessed. With great devotion to the Master, hundreds of devotees, including the local devotees, slept on the main road of that village and requested Guruji to bless them walking on their backs. That was a blessed sight to see. On the spot, funds were raised to build a new temple for the deity, and he built a new temple there, raising funds, playing Yakshagana of Karna, Girija Kalyana, and more, with more famous actors. He actually did it and fundraised it from the Gubbi theatre functions. Guruji would write poems on the go in the travel when the bus was moving on the glories of the next center that would be visiting next. With his scribbles, and after the trip, the disciples would write them down nicely, asking him for any clarification of the spelling. At Bombay Wadala Gokarnamat camp in 1964, one day when I was enjoying my deep sleep in the night, Guruji never slept. He wrote 24 songs, beautiful. See Purandara Vithala, Anugraha Vithala, like the Radhesham Panduranga Vithala Rakumar, and the 23 more, like and others, which is each one of them equally beautiful. And when I got up, he asked me to write them down nicely and mail it to Sudhindra Press. By the time we returned to Bangalore, the book was ready by the name Anugraha Vithala Bhajanavali for devotees to sing on the God's installation day by Sri Vishwatirtha Swamiji of Pejavaram Mutt, Udupi. Each song has an interesting history like this one. So Guruji took me to Kumta one day for this Dasara Harikatha programs for 15 days in 1964. We had traveled in the night bus. In Kumta temple, Guruji got up at 4 a.m. and started dictating me. He would compose songs by dictation. Nobody else in the world can do that. We find words, we look the dictionary to find a word, but he would go incessantly writing a poem through a dictation. No professor can do that. That was his great fund of knowledge in his brain, collected from all the Yakshaganas, parents' blessings, and his own learnedness. And then what happened? I took me to a near, when we reached there, he started writing a song on the Shantari temple where the program was going on from the next day. But when I was writing the songs, in the middle of the songs, I felt a little sleepy. He knew that, and he said, okay, let us stop writing and we will go. Morning 4 o'clock, he walked away from the home and took us to a place where there's a beautiful pond. At that place, Guruji met a great man called Shanbhag, editor of a great paper called Jivotama on the Madhva philosophy. And there he discussed with him, and then after taking bath from there, he returned at 6 o'clock in the morning, and then he asked me to write the continuation of the song, and he dictated it to me. I wrote down something, and when I left, and Guruji told me one secret on that day. If I write down something on a note and take it with me to lecture on that day, it will never get a chance for 8 to 10 days. Whatever I see on the audience, whatever I get inspired, that comes on that day. So this sheet of paper that I have written never gets a chance. That was the beauty of his lectures. Take over now.
Okay. Who wants to go next about the travel?
I was in Uttarkashi with Guruji, and there were several different ashrams with different swamis and all that. And all of a sudden, there you know, Guruji got really excited. Some Swami came in and you know, was talking to him. And all of a sudden, this out of the depths of the Himalaya, this Avaduta came. Avaduta Ramananda, totally naked yogi who rarely appeared. And all the Swamis were excited, you know, and you know, it was generally agreed he came simply because, you know, Guruji was there. And that was quite an experience. He was, he didn't speak, but everybody had such a reverence for him. All he had was a staff, totally naked, yogi, and he had a staff. And the Swamis and Guruji did a Guru Puja, you know, to his feet. And that was in Uttarakashi when it was just a bare building. There was nothing much there, except before we left, Guruji installed the Vaikuntha Narayana Murti there and installed a priest. So that was quite an experience.
So in 1985, Christmas, Sham and I went over. I sort of hosted him to go over. It was the first time I went to India because I used to tell Guruji, I can't go there. I cry when I see street people in LA. So I was very hesitant of even going to India. But he never forced it, but he said, Daya, come. So I felt inspired. So Sham and I went over around Christmas time in 85. And that's when I first met Padma and her family, but at the ashram. And so Sham and I sat with Guruji and say, Guruji, we want to go to the Himalayas. And Guruji looked at us and said, Daya, Sham, it's December. The Himalayas are covered in snow. I'll bring you back here another time. We had beautiful pilgrimages down in southern India and met the family guru and over to Udupi and Badagiri and went over to the temples over on the coast, Vishakhapatnam and so forth, by train, and rode in the train with him in the compartment. He and I slept in the same compartment.
Those are all like dream now.
Yeah, dream worlds, and we laughed and chuckled. And but then in 1987, he said, Daya, we're going on a Himalayan pilgrimage. I'm signing you up first. And so sure enough, it was in 87, we went over, and that was just an amazing pilgrimage that we went up to Kashmir. It was still open at that time, and the lake, and at that time it was and we also went to Kedarnath and
Kedarnath and Badrinath.
And Badrinath, right.
Amarnath was also there.
Amarnath was 84.
84, this was before, so we just did those two.
84.
Went to Babaji's cave.
Oh, okay.
You know, in that one, because there were so many people interested in going to Babaji's cave of the autobiography of a yogi. And it was during that time, some preliminary discussions started to take place regarding our possible engagement. But it was sort of at a distance, you know, and a bit, so there's a little mysticism behind all of that. As I was looking out the window at the mountain up at Badrinath, and the clouds split, and Guruji came and said, Daya, what are you doing? And of course, there was usually 60 people there, so he was never alone. So do you mind if I come in and talk to you? And I go, of course, Guruji. So he came in and said, I said, what are you thinking about, Daya? And I said, I'm feeling this fondness for this Padma. And he said, oh, very interesting. And so anyway, afterwards, talks went on, and it led to our engagement. We were married the following year when Panduranga was installed, and Sham was married within 3 days of when we were, and there was another pilgrimage and so forth. But so it was just amazing. And I have to admit, the sort of sadness, I went 3 years ago for Guruji's 20th MahaSamadhi. When I go now, there's always a bubble when you traveled with him as a Westerner. There was a mysticism, and every place you stopped, there was Harikatha. Like, for instance, where Krishna's birthplace, I went into a mystical meditation down in the jail where Krishna was supposed to be born. There's a place in Kashmir where it's said Jesus his body there, where there's a book about it. And there I went into a deep mystical meditation. A couple times I really went, and each time he was fully aware of that. And so these were experiences by being in his presence and him giving Harikatha at each single location around the teachings, the principles, and the saints and sages of that location. Is words cannot adequately express what it was like walking through India in his footsteps, and he walking in the footsteps of all the other saints and sages.
When we were returning from New Delhi to Bangalore on the way, Guruji stopped on Bombay, and the flight, all the three of us came back by flight by returning, so that I did not have the train problem on the way back. I had in the beginning. So when we stopped in Bombay, Pratyaksh Pai, Guruji's, Mataji's uncle, he arranged a beautiful car for us to go to Pandharapura, which Guruji wanted to show to her. When we are going, there are thousands of people walking on the road when we are closing to the temple. Then we understood that that was the holy Kartika Shuddha Ekadasi day. And then when Guruji goes there, there's a big line, 2 miles long, to see the God. And then we were wondering how to reach there. At that time, one miracle happened. In 1962, Guruji had gone with 2 buses of devotees from Bangalore all the way to Pandharapura. And seeing that glorious satsang by Guruji and singing so much beautiful Abhang songs in Marathi, the chief priest of the temple took the beautiful photograph of Panduranga that was sitting there for so many years and wrote the name Venkatramana Pai Bhadrigiri Keshavadas and presented it to him. That was in 1961, 60 years ago. Guruji has gone to America and come back with this lady, and we are trying to have the darshan of God, but there is 2 to 2.5 mile long big queue. And Guruji was wondering what to do. At that time, the same priest that he had given the great blessing to Guruji came running to him and said, Guruji, so happy you are here. Touched his feet, took him all the way to the feet of God, directly, no queue, nothing, and did this special puja for him. And then that was the great blessing that Guruji got on that holy day. So these things, so many happened, I try to cover them in the book of the Bhadrigiri Yogi, Bhakti Yogi of Bhadrigiri book. Gradually, you will all know one by one. Thanks a lot.
Thank
Take
you.
over, no?
Yeah, Haricharan Das, do you have a travel experience you'd like to share?
Not as dramatic as my good friends.
Really,
what?
Yeah, just satsang will do. Just a company of Guruji for a while.
Whether I was with Guruji in the temple or traveling,
Yes.
for me it was always the same. To me, being with Guruji, whether I was on the road or at the temple, was like standing with a living miracle. I felt that way all the time. When is this going to happen again? I was living within a miracle, and that miracle continues even now. So there was never up or down for me. It was just one continuous sort of extraordinary circumstance.
Very nicely put. Go ahead, Anna.
So let me continue with you then, Haricharan Das. What was it like? When was the last time you were physically with him? And what was the like when the last time you met him? Was there any inkling that it could be the last time? Later on, did you realize that there was some hint given? And and how do you feel his presence also even today?
Well, he's in my prayers every day. This is there is no day that I don't think about Guruji. Not one, not one day have I ever not had a reverence for Guruji. It's like, when do you stop breathing? For me, that's what it is. As far as the last time I saw Guruji, I had a small ashram here in Berkeley that ran for about 16 years, but it was in the summer of 97. Guruji came, and did a satsang here. He would come a couple of times a year and do a satsang at this little small ashram that I was running.
Mhm.
And it was very well attended. The place was jammed, basically. Matter of fact, we had to do it outside because there was so many people that they couldn't fit inside the building. So we did it outside, and it worked out quite well. But it was probably July of '97, and as always, it was a very festive, and Guruji was very, very happy with how this event was set up, and he was very cordially thanked me for doing the arrangements in an appropriate way. But that was the last time I saw Guruji. 97, summer of '97, probably July.
Okay. Ravi Karuna, if you can speak on that.
Well, the same year, and the last program that we had was at the SV Temple, Sri Venkateshwara Temple.
Yes.
And I remember after the satsang, we were in the room where everybody eats, takes prasad, and of course people were coming up to Guruji and wanting blessings and all that. And people were asking for programs next time that he comes. And, I would always have my notebook and take numbers down and talk to people and all that. And Guruji was not really enthusiastic about that. He was kind of, for the first time I saw, it's like, I don't know if I'll be coming back, That was sort of like his attitude, And the last time that I saw him was at the airport, when you could go to the airport when someone was leaving and getting on the plane. And Karuna was with me. We always did that. We always went right up to the gate and waited until he left. And this is permanently, burned into my brain. Just the last time I saw him, walking to the left, going up to, into the tunnel to go to the plane. And, he just looked at us and he waved, and that was that. I don't know if Karuna can add to that or not.
No, but I found a video of his last visit, one of the satsangs, because we always recorded it, and I haven't watched it yet, but I have some of that, so.
I think maybe he was with us before he went to Hari Charan's.
Yeah, I think it might have been May.
Yeah.
Yes, he came to California in July.
Yeah, he was with us earlier, I think. Yeah.
Yes.
I think at the same time, he visited us also.
Yes.
So my experience on that time, I will tell you in writing. In all his visits to Washington, D.C., Guruji stayed in his children's homes and gave me and Jaya a chance to host him and Srimati Ramamata for a day or two. In 1997 June, around the same time that you all met him, finally, when myself and Jaya had a chance to host him, Jaya, we were honoring Guruji when he was leaving our home, bending at his feet and all. And at the Maryland Bowie home, I told him something about next visit. Guruji said, in Elapa next time. That means, I don't know whether there will be next time. I could not understand that. But I said, Guruji, you say like that, but you will bring 50 Americans next time. I did not know what to say, but such a foolishly I said him that, no, you say that you are not coming. Though you are sick, you will try to bring Americans here. Means still travel and keep on doing all those things, instead of taking good rest, which the Bajrangji intended Guruji to take good rest in the ashram. Let the world come to you. So I give an ashram to you. Whatever is the amount, don't worry. He gave a plain check to Guruji to install the Vishwashanti ashram and begin it. And he intended that Guruji stayed in one place and the entire world went to see him. So I felt that feeling and said that he will be coming once again. But he did not talk. After on that day when he left us, he went to Murli's, and all after 1 or 2 days, the next West Indies program came. When he reached the West Indies, within 1 or 2 days, in India, my mom died. That he heard through his children. And he immediately called me and Jaya and consoled us about that, because he had seen my mother so many times coming to him before I got married to Jaya. Please tell your disciple Nagendra to marry a girl, any girl for that matter. So that was her way. So he remembered, of course, Mataji, my mother, very well. And of course, we met, or he met her so many times in my home, in back in India, and I took her there and all those things. So that was the great experience I had. But when he went there, he called me on phone. That was the great blessing, last blessing that I got from him. And it is always in my heart. And I can never forget that. Thank you.
Wow.
Thank you.
Ram.
So it was the summer of '97, and I'd have to defer to Padma.
July.
We went to the airport to see him
My
off again.
mom and Geeta had come from India. So we had gone to California driving, and we attended the program. And we were in Los Angeles and then came to San Francisco. So it was our thrill to be around Guruji, and my mom and my sister had come. And Anjani was 3.5 years old. She used to sit in the program. She used to say, Guruji used to ask her, do Narasimha. She used to do that. He used to keep asking her, do that. Narasimha, do Narasimha. I don't know why he kept on asking, do Narasimha.
Oh, good.
And then, yeah, he had his own way of right. He loved children. You know, I always, that's why when I see Vivan, I always think how he would have loved him, you know.
Yes.
He has his own way of, you know, he loved children so much. Then that was the last thing, and we went to the airport, as you say, Ravi. So we went till he was disappearing till near the tunnel. He was going to Trinidad. He went to Miami, through Miami, right? So it was a late night flight. And then he said, she will eat pizza. So I don't want pizza. He said, so for mother, I went and got the pizza because it was a long flight. And then something he had, I said, Guruji, put your hand on me. I said, I myself told that to him.
So he gave us blessings. And I said the fact that we loaded up our car and drove and went on tour with him that summer in California and so forth. So it was a special time. And never did we really think deeply about the fact it'd be the last time we physically saw him. And so then we got the news relatively quickly. I can't remember exactly.
Ravidas called me, you know, in the morning at 5:30, but you waited because your time must be like 3 hours afterward, you know. You called, and I called Hema Chitnis here, you know. That's the only person who is like us, you know, who wanted to know right away.
And then we got Padma on a plane as quickly as possible.
No, I waited I didn't go right away. I went the 9th day.
Yeah, but got her to go to India to be part of the...
So Guruji said, even there is, you know, destruction for the sun and the moon too. I don't know why he said that. You know, he said that. Surya Chandrarigu Alivuntu anta ಹೇಳಿದ್ದು.
Yes. I am so glad, Amma. You remember even those detailed words of him.
From his mouth, I felt, am I so blessed to hear all those? He's talking to us, miss.
Such a great
And he said, sing my bhajan. That's the only thing. Sing my bhajan.
That's
You all should sing my bhajan. That makes so much sense. Everything is in that. All the message. You feel so happy, so peaceful.
Yes. Yes, I think I think it's hard to even fathom how somebody would feel when you get that news. But I can only imagine. I think the essence in what he taught us and what he basically was continuing to tell us what the message of Krishna was in the Gita and all that, you know, the spirit principle is always there. It's always there with us, no matter, even if the physical person won't always be there. But it's easier said than done when it comes to actually dealing with that that process of not physically having somebody. I think it's, I think any one of us would give anything we could if he could physically be with us, again, and do another program or something. Sometimes I think about those things. Personally, I think I've felt his reappearance sort of in my dreams sometimes.
Yes.
I'm sure many of you have as well.
Yes.
He felt all of us are his children. That's why this love is going on. Otherwise, no, it won't be this way.
Yeah.
He made us to feel that.
Yes, absolutely. So, go ahead.
I think it's funny, Padma and I had different experiences around it. Of course, we both missed the personality, but for me, I felt, this may sound bad, but I felt happy for him that he was free from the physical overcoat and sort of physical suffering. He had given so much in his life. I mean, he'd given everything. There was nothing left. He had given everything, every ounce. And so to be free in the true spirit, my mind went more that way than trying to hold on, even though, sure, I missed the personality. One more conversation, one more satsang, one more hug, from him would always be longed for. But the idea that he could be freed from the physical encumbrance was something that brought some peace to me in terms of that time.
Very nicely said. Very nicely said. Sanganada.
So, moving on to the last chapter here, we know that his teachings are always there. His message, thankfully, there's recorded audio, video, books, all this great work he's done, and we're all contributing in our own ways, or keep the mission going. So, how do you see each one of you? How are you? What do you do every day, or is there something? Hari Charan Das made a great point that there's not a day that goes by that he doesn't think of him. So in terms of actually living his teachings and trying to continue the seva in whatever way for your own benefit as well. I mean, how do you practice, continuing to be that disciple today?
Yes,
and especially during this pandemic time, when we have perhaps more time, we don't have social commitments, we're not traveling anywhere. So these things have restricted us, but I think it's also given us personally, I feel it's given us some time to grow and continue maybe somewhere where we left off on certain things. Maybe we can pick up that again and continue to evolve. That's my personal feeling. And I think, we all have done that in our own ways. And can continue to do so, and keep it going even once we're back to somewhat normal world. But I just want each one of you to kind of touch on this, and because I kind of brought everything into one thing, because this has gone fairly long in the best interest of time. So just tell me how his teachings resonate with you today, and if there's any practices you guys do daily or in some sort of regularity. And how do you see his teachings and what he might say to you about this time of distress that we're all in?
Very good. I will summarize it like this. Guruji's teachings, melodious divine songs and bhajans remind me of him daily. I think of his great achievements in his brief but very precious busy life. Thus I feel the presence around me always. Devotion to God in any form was Guruji's main message. Hence, it helps to see God in everyone and everything we do. Hence, I have the place in the form of Guruji's teachings. That is how I practice it. And following the instructions of the Guru at all times, adhering to the suggestions regarding, as you said, the pandemic, the managing agencies, whatever the advice they give, be hygienic, calm, and alert all the time. And always chant the holy name, Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. And Guruji's beautiful message could be summarized in one sentence of the great saint Namadeva. That was, Ghalina Lotangana, Vandina Charana, Dolyana Pahina Rupa Tujhe, Preme Alangina Anande Pujina, Bhave Ovalina Mane Nama. This one sums up Guruji's daily message to devotees. In addition to his lectures, in my routines, I spend my time together, actually putting together all the 7,000 songs of Guruji written in Sanskrit, Kannada, Marathi, Konkani, Tulu, and Hindi, and 1,000 English songs that includes 700 rhyme and rhythmic poems of the Bhagavad Gita, thus sang Lord Krishna, and the other 300 in the other publications of songs of Keshavadas ji. For reference and for posterity, I am saving them and editing them for printing them as most popular book, second popular bhajan book, and the entire collection of his work. So God, I request him to bless me with that power, and always I request Guru to manifest himself in those forms for the betterment of the posterity. Thank you.
Thank you, Nagendra. You recently celebrated your 80th birthday, and you're 80 years young. I can't even believe you're 80. But the amount of service you have done and you're continuing to do, the enthusiasm you have, the faith is there. We can see that. So thank you so much for everything you've done for Guruji and for all of us. You know, you're such an inspiration.
Namaste to all of you.
Thank you.
Guruji always said the most beautiful handwriting was Nagendra Das. Most beautiful Kannada handwriting or English, beautiful. Always he would prefer Nagendra to come and write.
Yeah. So Padma and Dayaram, if you want to speak about this last portion.
Go ahead, dear, and speak later.
Well, she's going to speak later, but I have to give all credit to her. Every day, the first thing, she wakes up and goes to Guruji's pictures throughout the house, begins with prayers, and as a result, directly, I'm influenced by all of that. My mind goes to him daily, as Hadacharyan says. I think for all of us, there isn't a day or even a breath that we can take without his influence. To try and manifest it at this time, I think, it keeps ringing, not a blade of grass moves, but by God's will. So when we look at elections, we look at the pandemic, we look at this, I go, really? Really? And, but it does make us go and take a stronger look at our inner life, which was already, being a retiree is already, the amount of my social footprint is reduced tremendously already. And the pandemic just took it to another level of reducing it. And with our prayer room and the each one of the festivals, she is so beautifully celebrates in our home and brings our whole family together, including our new future son-in-law who's embraced it with bhajans and so forth. So that's how it's come to life. And he left a very powerful message as we traveled around that, that was the purpose of life from the very time when you go back full circle to Sanatana Dharma, self-realization, God realization. He's given us all the teachings we need. Now we just have to apply them and make them come to life within ourselves. So
wonderful. Wonderful.
So I don't know whether it should be said, but it's okay. I'm going to say, if you want, you can edit or whatever. So growing up, I was like 7 or 9 years. I must have, it's not that young, right? We used to go to Guruji's house also, Vishwajyoti house. I saw one day him going to the bathroom and coming out. I ran to my mother and said, Mom, Guruji went to the bathroom and came out. Then my mom said, okay. And he said, he's God. He will not be going to the bathroom and coming out, right? I said. So my mom, she's such a pious lady. And then she just smiled. And then she said, yes. Okay, we'll talk about it, she said later. So I felt he was God from my young age. So till today it is like that only.
Mm.
It is like that. So it is never a minute that he is not in us. It's always he's there. So when you say when you think or not, it's like breathing. Swaso swasame, he is there always. So let it be there till we go to him. That's all we pray. That's all.
Yes.
I don't know why I can't talk. I just feel into this.
No, we all are sharing that emotion. So thank you so much for bringing that emotion to this, because I was afraid I might tear up too, but
Yeah.
somehow I held it in. Hari Charan Das, please tell us your thoughts on how your daily life is now.
Not now, always. It's a life of prayer, meditation. Most of my life, I've tried to teach the psychology and philosophy of the saints, to give people practical tools. What is meditation? What is mantra? What is prayer? And to bring that in a language that the Western people can understand. So that's really been part of my life, most of my life. It's just that the manifestation of Guruji was the living embodiment of that. So today, 50 years ago, or 50 years from now, it'll be the same. No difference. I am completely content being a Das. I don't need to go this or that. I'm happy. That's it for me. If I serve Guruji, I'm content. That's all I have to say.
Okay. Ravi and Karuna?
Well, that was very well said. I'm happy also being a Das. But yeah, I've been practicing the Gayatri, as Guruji was very boldly taught women the Gayatri. And so I've been doing that, and praying out of the healing techniques of the Holy East, that blue book. There's something in there, so much in there, including a mantra about the pandemic to make it go away. So that's in there too.
Oh.
And that, and listening to Guruji's satsangs as much as I can. We have so many recordings of his. It's just great to nothing like hearing them.
Yes. I know you're trying to reproduce them into better media, and you were doing the CDs, and now probably more like MP3 file. I mean, audio files and things like that. So data files.
Yes.
Great work, and good thing for preservation for the long term. We all need that wisdom to continue and spread as much as possible. So I'd like to conclude and wrap up this meet. I just like to ask, first of all, I'd like to thank each and every one of you again for making the time. And hopefully, it didn't seem like 2 hours went by, but they did. It was amazing to listen to each and every one of your experiences and your answers. So enriching for me. I don't know, I think my wife too, because she never met Guruji. She always asked me questions about what my experiences were and how did I react to certain things, or what happened when I was a kid. But I think, hearing what you guys had to say is even a deeper impact, on her. And I'm so happy that she's here to hear this directly from you guys. So I thank you all very much for really, really bringing so much color to this beautiful discussion. And I'd like to go ahead and ask each one of you to just make some closing remarks, whatever you would want to say.
Sadguru Maharaj Ki.
Jai.
That's about it.
Vishwamate Rukmini Mata Ji ki Jai. He thought his mother, Guruji wouldn't have been there, right?
Thank you
Guruji's mother.
And thank you very much for
so much
pulling
for hosting
this together.
What is it?
Prataksha, thank you so much for hosting this.
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
The song that Ravi was telling is put by Guruji in that great collection of the Bhagavad Gita. One of the songs he made opportunity to sing that beautiful song, and it is very, as you said, masterpiece and such a beautiful thing. Thanks, Anand. Thanks, Pratyaksh, and
Thank you.
yes.
Vidya and Pratyaksh.
Vijayama for organizing this beautiful program. Thank you.
It's our pleasure and our blessing. I did put a little line in there in case anybody wanted to sing a bhajan.
Sure.
Madhu, can you lead us a bhajan? It feels incomplete without a bhajan.
Yeah.
You sing, we follow.
We'll follow, yeah.
Sadguru Bhagavan ki Jai. Siddhi Vinayak Swami ki Jai. Mitila netra nirguna nirleta nitya niranjana nama shivaya nigama vetya nirlepa niramaya nityananda nama shivaya nirupama niravadikananda nirmala Nikila Vishvesha Nama Shivaya Niravayava Nirupadika Nanjundeshwara Shankara Nama Shivaya Om Namah Shivaya Om Namah Shivaya 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 Om Namah Shivaya Gangadhara Gaja Vadana Janaka Gaja Charmambaradhara Nama Shivaya Gagana Kesha Gaganangana Charasam Devita Sukakara Nama Shivaya Gandharvadi Sutevita Padayuga Ganga Pita Priya Nama Shivaya Arvita Kalamada Karva Sharvasa Gotama Haritya Nama Shivaya Anjunata Mahimanvita Mahesha Mahadeva Hara Nama Shivaya Madhusudana Saka Manjula Muruti Mudita Hridaya Sita Nama Shivaya Mahapralaya Karta Mahabaleshwara Nama Shivaya Mahashaktipati Maya Davama Kandeya Varada Nama Shivaya Isha Klesha Nashaka Paramesha Shesha Bhushana Nama Shivaya Asuranga Kailasa Nata Vishveshwara Ishwara Nama Shivaya Kashipura Vasa Kameshwara Mari Sada Shiva Nama Shivaya Keshavasa Kavyoma Kesha Dasa Keshava Nama Shivaya Jai Jai Shankara Jai Shiva Shankara Jai Kameshwara Nama Shivaya Jai Jai Parashiva Jai Kalantaka Jai Sada Shiva Nama Shivaya Jai Jai Nanjundeshwara Sukakara Jai Bhavani Pati Nama Shivaya Jai Jai Hara 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 Mahadeva Dasa Keshavanta Nama Shivaya Namah Shivaya Om Namah Shivaya 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 Om Namah Shivaya 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 Om Namah Shivaya Om Namah Shivaya Om Namah Shivaya Om Namah Shivaya Hara Namah Parvati Pataye Hara Hara Mahadeva काशी विश्वनाथ की जय सद्गुरु संत केशवदास महाराज की जय भक्त और भगवान की जय used to always say beautiful American beautiful yogis and yoginis ki jai.
Thank you very much, Padhu, for that spirited bhajan. It's a very complicated bhajan because there's so many words.
When I sing that, always I miss my sisters.
Yes, yes, we missed them being here too. You know, I wish Geeta could have joined, but I'm sure she will enjoy watching this. So Thank you all once again for being part of this, and I really appreciate everything. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
so much.
you.
God bless.